So I have with me today Rae Hatherton, and I've talked to her a couple of times before. I think the last time was way back in January here. And
Yeah.
Ray's been having an ongoing struggle with cancer. So I'm just talking to Rae and to check up on where she's at. So the last time we talked, Rae, you were doing some intensive therapy with marijuana.
Uh-huh. Oh, that is a while ago. Um, actually, you used the word struggle, and I actually don't relate to that.
That's great.
Um,
I'm
I
glad.
know, I know that's the way people view this whole exercise, but I feel like it's more like a dance,
Mm.
and I'm just learning the steps.
Yeah.
And it does not feel like, I'm pushing against anything or pushing anything up, or, it requires that I manage my mind and my thinking and my attitudes a whole lot better than normal or whatever. Um, but I don't feel like it's a struggle. I feel like it's an opportunity for me to learn a heck of a lot, and I am really fast.
That's great. That's great. I mean, when we talked last, we were my channel was called Happiness Hints, and it was
Yes.
part of my conversation with you was we decided that happiness wasn't actually the right word. That it was more about having a level of equanimity. So now living in peace and clarity is what I've
Yeah.
called the channel, because I think that's more realistic, if you like. Maybe you want to also just remind people what kind of cancer you have. And I know you don't like to use the cancer word, but just just so people know.
I have these little bumpies in my lungs. That's what my acupuncturist calls them.
Okay.
Bumpies. Just call them bumpies.
Okay.
So what it is renal cell carcinoma. I had my right kidney removed 3 years ago, and it metastasized to my lungs about a year and a half later. And then I've been working with the metastasis ever since. And they've wanted me to do their type of chemotherapy, since there isn't one for kidney cancer, really. And I've been doing other things. So I've been keeping it at bay with cannabis and now ozone, which I'll talk about a little bit, and working with my mind a whole lot. So where I am now is I'm still doing cannabis, but the levels that I was doing at it before, which it was too much for me. I reached the point that I couldn't do that much anymore. I became nauseous and got very uncomfortable. Anyway, so I decided not to do that. And but a lot of people are curing themselves with cancer 100%. And I'm talking about 4-stage colon cancer and some really serious cancers, using THC in high levels, not medicinal, not by prescription, however, by legal growers. And it's working. It just didn't work for me because it was too much.
Mm.
So I just kept on researching. I'm not sure everything that I've been through since I saw you last, because I go through stuff. I just do research and then I do it. And but where I'm at currently is I'm doing ozone therapy, which is a therapy that was used in the States for a long time and was illegal there. Now is legal, and definitely legal in Canada. Always has been. And what I'm doing is I'm doing ozone saunas, and ozone is O3, so it's oxygen plus a molecule. And what ozone does is it basically kills everything that's unfriendly. So it kills bacteria, it kills virus, it reduces tumor load, it does all kinds of things, and it boosts your immune system. So you feel pretty good when you're doing it. So I started doing it a little heavier. I was doing it once a week for a while, and now I'm doing it twice a week, probably up to 3 to 4 times a week. And I do an ozone sauna, which is a sauna cabinet, you know, like the old ones in I Love Lucy, where they used to have their heads out of the cabinet and, you know, have the big turban on the top of their head. Yeah. They're like that. And they have a steam pipe that comes in, and another one is ozone. And it starts out being carbonic acid, which is a strong antioxidant and good to kill everything that you don't want. They start off with 10 minutes of that, and then they pipe in 20 minutes of ozone, and they've got an oxygen mask on your face at the same time. So you sweat a lot. The ozone and carbonic acid go in through your skin, and then you come out and you put a special, like a stethoscope, into your ears, and they essufflate through the ears or through the anus. And the other thing they do is give you great big bottles of ozonated water, and you take it home. So you're drinking ozone, you're piping it in through here and up your backside and in your skin and everything.
You really need a sense of humor, don't you?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Oh, yeah, no question about it. No question about it. Although I did cannabis anally for a while. Didn't work as well as the other way, but anyway. It does for some people. What can I say?
I've never heard of that one.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it's what they do. It's what they do with people with colon cancer, because it's right close to the area, right? So it works. Yeah. It definitely works.
Yeah.
So I'm doing that. Plus I'm doing infrared light. So I'm doing that on this band around my middle. I'm doing tapping, which is a doctor in, it's not tapping like EFT or anything like that. This is a doll and a hammer and a whole protocol that works, again, with quantum physics. The other guy I'm working with is Dr. Joe Dispenza, who does quantum healing at a very high level, has had amazing spontaneous healings, unexplainable, in a lot of his courses. And it is a way to learn to separate your mind and your body and begin to change your chemistry and your biology and eventually your genealogy. So your genes actually, if you continue to do the patterning that he talks about, your genes change. And as a result, so does your physiology.
So it's the way the genes are expressed changes.
Yes, yeah. That's right. That's right. So then the disease that you have doesn't exist anymore, really, because you've now changed the whole chemistry that caused it to be existent in the first place. And your organs and your entire body and your mind are responding differently, so you don't recreate it.
Okay, so this is really using your mind, is it?
Very much so.
Okay.
And they actually, in his advanced workshops, they hook you up. They show you when you're thinking thoughts that are from your past that have driven you in the past, like your habitual, we would say your habitual actions.
Yeah.
And it shows red on the graph what's happening. It also shows when you go into deeper levels of meditation, alpha and theta, and for some even delta, way down the bottom.
So that's an electrocephalograph, is it?
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. I've had
and then they have another one hooked up to the space of the room, and it tells them where people are at as a group.
Oh, so fascinating.
This stuff is so cool.
I always wondered what it would be like to have that kind of instant feedback as to, what your brain was doing, where your brain waves were. So that must be really interesting.
Oh, I can't wait. I just can't wait.
Well, we're gonna have to talk again after you've done it, because I would just love to see. It's like from meditating for so many years, you have this kind of you have the sense of your own mind state, to be able to sort of visually see what's being recorded, what those mind states like you said, if you can kind of drop yourself down through the levels, it would be wonderful just to sort of go, oh yeah, okay, that's there, and okay, that's there, and
Well,
yeah,
and they do it at the beginning of the workshop, and then they do it at the end of the workshop.
right.
And the contrast is stunning.
Mm. So does it work on you looking at your own patterns, that kind of thing?
No, no, it's the opposite.
So
It's
tell me.
about, he says, this is a beautiful way to, very articulate way to put it. He said, most of us live from our past present. So in our present, we are living from the patterns of the past, the thinking patterns, the chatter going on in our minds, the automaticity that we go through every day, the way we turn off something, the way we do things is all on automatic, and it's all from the past.
Mm.
He said, we want to switch because we want to change biology. We want to switch the past, the present, the past present to the future present. And how you do that is you start to get excited about what your future looks like. And you manifest it in your mind as though it were happening, just like hypnosis.
Yeah.
As though it were happening, it is hypnosis. As though it were happening right now.
So operating in the present with an eye of what you want for the future. Is that right?
Right. Rather than living in reaction to the past.
Right. You'd have to drop all that stuff from the past. And to me, the idea of like just dropping all your baggage, just being able to let all that go is in some respects the essence of the spiritual path, because without that you can't open up to the present moment, you know, which is where you'll find, you know, the possibility of anything and everything.
Well, it is the spiritual path.
Yeah, yeah. So
yeah, the thing I really like about this guy, he doesn't bring religion into it at all.
Yeah.
But he refers to a divine presence. He refers to, you know, a source of inspiration, a power, of that kind of thing, which I really admire him for. He has kept all of the jargonistic, and there's a lot of stuff that he does, Talia, that he should not know. I don't know how he knows what he knows, but I'm telling you, and he's not a senior Buddhist practitioner, some of the stuff he does, I just don't know where. I mean, he's obviously channeling it, because there's no way he could know this stuff.
Yeah, but you know, if you're really open to your own wisdom, you know,
I agree.
That truth is there for everyone. I mean, I think that's
exactly, and that's what I mean by channeling. He's just pulling it in.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah. Just, I mean,
he's inspired.
I've been looking at, you know, the Buddha's life and some of the things that he said, you know, right back, you know, in his earliest days, and it seems to me that he just really used his mind to simply look. You know, to just look in the moment, to see and to observe, and you know, this whole thing where he had a couple of teachers and then he had to go beyond the teachers, because in the end we all have to go beyond the teachers, and we all have to do that examination for ourselves. You know, nobody knows ourselves better than ourselves, and but there's just this incredible honesty required. You know, there's just an incredible kind of ability to look and, look without, and pare away all the stuff that kind of stops you from seeing. So, you know, it doesn't have to be religious, you know, at all.
I agree. Because when I first started doing this work, it was from the same kind of basis. It didn't have a religious base.
Yeah.
I just happened to resonate. It takes all the generalities and puts them into harsh contrast, you know, and it's, as you and I both know, you know, it's one thing to talk about getting rid of all your habitual actions and habits and guilt and all the rest of that stuff and all the lower chakra emotions, but it's another thing altogether to do it.
and that's why we keep practicing.
No question about it.
In every moment.
This whole having to have operation blah 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 has been exactly that for me. My life was way too fast paced, and I was taking on way too much, and I accomplished a tremendous amount in a very short time, but it definitely took its toll.
Mm.
And so it's made me learn to just really, really slow down.
Yeah.
Really slow down, like really, really slow down. Because, when I see how other people live, I kind of look at it with, the curious dog look. It's like the RCA Victor dog, with my head cocked. Because it's like, I don't know what it's like to live like that. And, what I've said to myself is, well, now's the time to find out what it feels like.
Yeah. In terms of yourself, like you're living with cancer, how are you feeling? Like I do feel sick.
No. I do have some pain because I have booked myself for radiation. I probably won't do it. But in order to keep my doctors happy, I have to go along somewhat with what they recommend. And they said to me, cancel anytime you want. Anytime you want. You can always do it later, blah, blah, blah. And I have a GP that's very much my partner, full toe-to-toe. She's there for me all the time. And she doesn't think this is such a big deal. Of course, the oncologist and the radiologist think it's a very big deal. My GP isn't like that, and so she looks at it with much more perspective, as do I, and with her support. And so the radiation that I booked would be after I get back from Spain and France, at which point I doubt very much that I would do it. So, now, that's only if I go into a lot of pain or something really odd happens. But between the ozone and the meditation and the focusing and all the rest of the supplements and things that I'm doing. This is another thing I should tell you. When I was studying with Dr. Hannah Kroger, or Reverend Hannah Kroger, she was one of the first German naturopaths in the world from Boston Hospital during the war. Moved to Boulder, Colorado, became an incredible resource for the public working with alternative medicine back in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I was one of her students and got to learn to teach her work. And she was an incredible human being. And she had a theory that cancer is virus, parasite, fungus, and chemicals and metals. So chemicals and metals from the environment and from water and from, things like fluoride. Parasites we all have. It's just that when our immune function is low, they take over. Viruses, I have 4 of my own. That now they're saying in France, with this French doctor that I'm working with, they're saying that, I haven't told you about that yet. He's an MD, a very famous one in France, and he has a theory that all cancers come from autoimmune dysfunction or virus.
Okay.
So it's kind of like Hannah Kroger's approach, except a little bit further in a narrower direction. But I'm kind of mixing all of them together and treating all of the things. So parasites, virus, chemicals and metals I've already done, and fungus. So those are the things that I'm treating right now, because cancer is just a gather word for all of these things together being more severe in some people and not in others.
Right.
So that's what I'm doing. And this French doctor, I've been working with a colleague of his in Montreal and driving down there, which is only about 5 hours from here, and driving down there for sessions with her. And I'm taking a mycelium, which is the essence of mushroom, together with essential oils put together in these powders. And so I've been doing that for about 6 months now, too.
Okay. So
there's probably 25 other things, but, I can only talk about so many at one time, Talia.
Yeah. I think probably what's most helpful for, the ordinary viewer and, people who have their own cancers and are maybe taking a different approach, rather than, apart from just hearing all these interesting approaches and that, is how you manage to stay so, positive and like, yeah, that aspect of it.
I know it kind of amazes me sometimes too. And for the first, when this first happened, I thought maybe I was being naive or numb or numbed out or something like that. But what I've discovered, as I've shared with you along the way, is no, that's actually not true. And I am curious.
Yeah.
And I am, in many ways, coming from the observer self a lot.
Yeah.
And the more, the only thing I can say, again and again and again, is meditation. Meditation. Focus. Meditation. Sitting. Meditation.
Yeah.
Meditation.
Yeah. I mean, it is the way to allow what is happening in your life without reacting to it, because it's the reacting to things that is where our distress lies. It's interesting with my own thyroid cancer. When I had the biopsy, and my doctor rang me up and she said, "Oh, Talia," she said, you need to come in, we need to talk." And I went, "Oh, do we?" It must be bad news then. And she said, "I'd rather, talk about it face to face. Can you come in this afternoon?" I said, "Oh, no, I'm going to a movie. Can you just tell me over the phone?" And she said, "Oh, I'd rather do it face to face." And I said, "Oh, come on. It's obviously bad news. So, just give it to me." And she was really reticent to give it to me over the phone because she thought, I'd need sort of, support of some kind. So anyway, she said, "You've got thyroid cancer." And I went, "Oh, okay. So what do we do next?" And she went, "What do you mean?" She said, "What do you mean? What do we do next?" She says, "Is that all you've got to say?" And I said, "Well, yeah, like what else is there to say? Like now I need to find out about it and, like what's my options and all of that." And she said, "That's amazing." She said, "Nobody reacts like that." She said, "Everyone just totally freaks out." And I said, "Well, what point would there be in that?"
Yeah.
So I went to see her the next day, and she gave me all the details, but she was absolutely amazed because, I just went, "Well, okay, so I've got cancer, so what do I do now?" And, she laid it all out, and I did my research, and, it all looked pretty simple and straightforward. I mean, I was lucky. It was a simple thing, but she was just constantly amazed at the attitude. And, that's the thing. It's the reaction. I mean, of course, when I first heard it, I went, "Oh, well, what's the worst thing that can happen is that you die." Well, as a Buddhist practitioner, I've had plenty of time contemplating my own death. So that was like, oh, okay, well, maybe it's time, fine. I imagine most people don't react to the idea of death quite that way.
No.
So I would say that was one, benefit of my Buddhist practice, was I'm not afraid of the idea of dying. But yeah, it's meditation that allows you to, I think, be that non-reactive, if you like. It's the old non-slip mind, isn't it?
Yeah. I think also to realize that you are not your body.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
mean, you have a body, but that doesn't mean that you have to,
yeah,
be an emotional reaction machine because you have a body.
Yeah.
So I do understand people that go through trauma and shock and stuff like that, but it just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think it works for anybody, but people have different ways of processing their path, and
yeah,
mine is not drama.
Yeah. Oh, me too. I mean, it's just you know, a lot of it's my personality. My mother had her breast removed. She also got cancer, and she was just the same. You know, she's not done a lot of meditation. She's a devout Christian. I don't know whether that makes a difference or not, but she was, you know, very much the same. So
But she just took it with a grain of salt.
It's the secret to your ability to remain peaceful through all of this.
Well, and my basic curiosity. I mean, curiosity killed the cat. Well, maybe. But you know, I am incredibly intrigued by this whole process. I mean, I'm fascinated by it.
Yes. Yeah, curiosity
I mean,
is good, isn't it? It gives you a relationship, gives you a positive relationship to it, I think, instead of seeing it as some terrible thing. It's like it's just this really interesting thing. You know? So yeah. All right.
That's exactly the way I feel. And you know, I wouldn't say privileged to learn about it like this, but at least I get to learn about it and then be able to share it with other people, which I do incessantly, of course. I think what helps people the most, the clubs and things that I belong to that are associated with cancer and recovering from cancer, is my attitude.
Yeah. And such attitudes are kind of infectious, aren't they? You know.
Yes.
They spread outwards. You must have times when you feel low, or maybe not.
Not very often.
No. Yeah, I mean,
very often.
You've been living with it for so long now. I suppose you've come to a fairly even space.
Oh yeah. Well, you know, sometimes, I mean, but working with Dr. Joe's work, I'm always looking forward rather than backward.
Yeah.
And you know, it's like living in possibility rather than in fear is a whole lot more attractive.
Yeah. That's great. I like that. Living in possibility instead of in fear. That's good. Well, maybe we'll leave that. Maybe we'll leave it on that note, huh?
Sure.
Unless there's anything else you want to say.
No, it's just a delight to hang out with you. Any time you want to do this, I'll update you on my nearest and dearest therapies that I'm doing next. But yeah, after the seminar with Dr. Joe, that would be a very good time to speak.
Yeah, I'd really like to hear about that in more detail.
Yeah.
So, thank you very much, Rae, and we will be talking to you again. Yes.
Pleasure.
Bye.
Thanks, Talia.